So, having done that once and ascertained that it works, let's find a different map that we can do much the same with, to go through it again when I'm actually talking. So here we go, there's another one of my One-Shot Dungeons maps. It's already been published. This is the Temple of War. And in this case, we want to, again, shrink it down to a much smaller canvas. So let's start by going to the layer dialog, making sure that the grid has been fixed. The grid has been fixed, so we can't accidentally move the grid. Then we will use the move command, and I can safely draw a box around there because it can't do the grid. And then we'll move it down into this corner because that's obviously where we want to shrink the map down to. Now we will use the scaling option. Nice and simple this time though, we should be able to get it right. And we will select by layer. We'll select the background. Then we will also select by layer again, and we will select the map border. Right, then we say do it. Scale origin will be 0, 0, and we will scale it in this case by 0.5. And when we redraw, well, the grid is too big. The rest of our map now fits neatly down here in this much smaller space. And once again, easiest way to adjust the grid, rather than trying to actually chop down the grid that we've got, is just to delete the one that's there. Make sure we're using the right colour for the background, which is 250 in this case, and select draw, hex or square overlay, square grid, 5-foot grid, turn off the labelling. It still labels it because it can be a git like that sometimes. And there we go, there's our map. And then I can just use move again. Didn't want the grid, cancel. And indeed, I must remember to fix the grid again. And to fix the background. And in fact, to fix the map border, so that none of them can be moved, or indeed adjusted in any way. And then, so despite the fact that I've fixed the grid, it's decided that it's going to ignore that and let me select it anyway. So I'll deselect that using not, move my map into roughly the center, and bingo, there's my newly adjusted version of the Temple of War on a much smaller canvas. So that's basically how you adjust the size of the canvas. You need to do two things. You need to change the background. If you're not fussed about the background, you can always just delete it. In this case, the background hides the grid, so I needed to keep the background. But if I wasn't fussed about the background, I could have just deleted it and thus not had to worry about it. And then you have to scale the border. Now the map border is a simple green line that goes around the outside, and it shows the computer where the edges of your map are. So any tools that break at the map border will break when they hit that green line, and it's got to be a green line, and it's got to be on the map border's layer and sheet. So the important thing is that it's on the map border layer. You can draw on the map border sheet quite happily, and it will put it in the right place in terms of what it's in front of and what it's behind. But the actual border that the map uses has to be that green line on the map border's layer. And that's what you need to move to adjust the size of your canvas. And the same trick can be done, in theory, if you want to take a part of a larger map and draw it in more detail. You can shrink the map border, move it to the appropriate place, chop out everything outside it, then redraw within that map border, just draw everything at the new scale using the originals as a template. Best way to do that is to shift absolutely everything onto a temporary sheet so that you can hide that sheet to see what the result looks like, bring the sheet back in to see what it is that you're drawing on, put that sheet at the back behind everything except the background, so that when you're drawing your new map, you're drawing it over the top of the old map. And then in the end, you just hide or completely delete that sheet, and the old map has disappeared, and you've got a new one drawn to a new scale of a part of your old map. So that's a pretty simple technique once you get the hang of it, but it's a little bit counterintuitive figuring it out in the first place.